To the NFL, in the wake of the Tomlin news, we have now, count them, 9 head coaching openings across the league, including 3 in the AFC North alone. The Bengals are the only team in the AFC North that has a coach. Speaking of which, Ravens owner Steve Bisciotti yesterday explaining his decision to fire John Harbaugh after 18 years. Listen.
We want the Ravens to succeed. I felt it was the right time to make the change. If not now, when? If I'm already here and my gut is telling me it's time, why would I let John rebuild an entire staff? Because I'm going to be sitting here next year saying, what the hell did I do last year? And I made the decision by myself. And they understood. We had already talked about why I was there.
If Tyler Loop makes that field goal, is John Harbaugh still here coaching this team?
For a week.
Yikes.
Wow. Okay.
I need, listen, number one.
I love it.
Chad Steele, PR guy of the Ravens, I need Steve Bisciotti at a microphone like monthly next season because it's real and unfiltered. Yeah. I think for me, the biggest quote that came out of there was, I got to the point that I didn't believe I would feel regret after I made that decision. You've been there. You've been with somebody a long time. And every day you're looking at them, you're like, is this the right? Yeah, and everything they do, you're just sort of like, in the back of your head. But you're just waiting for them to like prove you wrong. And then finally the season ended the way it did. And Bisciotti said, yeah, I trust my gut. We gotta move on.
I would add, and Kimberly's right on this, it is so rare that we get an unfiltered version of an NFL owner, an NFL general manager talking candidly. They spoke openly about Lamar, they spoke openly about Harbaugh, and they took questions from a media group without being filtered. So credit to the PR staff, Chad Steele, but also to Steve Bisciotti and Eric DaCosta for not being scared of the shadows. That so many times we get owners, GMs, coaches, and it's message points, and let me see, and we're not going to answer that. This was the most refreshing postseason press conference. And if you had questions about Harbaugh, they were asked.
Yep.
If you wanted answers on Harbaugh, they were asked. It was time. They're moving on, regardless of whether they won or not. It seemed like the disconnect there, it was time to move on.
So we know that part of it. And now the next part of it is the interesting part of it to me, because at the end of the day, while he was there 18 years, the Ravens had ceased to be about John Harbaugh at some point. They are now about Lamar Jackson. They are about a 2-time MVP quarterback who has, for whatever reason, not elevated in the postseason, doesn't have championship hardware, all that kind of stuff, and is starting to get older. So the question is, what now, and what does Lamar Jackson, how does he figure into what happens for the Ravens starting today?
Yeah, I mean, he's the most important player on the team. I think it's rare in the NFL where you have a quarterback that's that good, have a vacancy with a quarterback that's that good and has that much influence should he choose to exercise it. I'm sure every coach that comes in there has to have some philosophy or some plan for how he is going to win Lamar over and make Lamar the best version of himself, keep him happy, and also keep him healthy. Like, those are the plans. Those are some of the questions that I'm sure are going to be asked and have to have a good answer. But I think one of the huge decisions they have to make is like how they're going to address that defense and fix that defense. I think Lamar, no matter what, you're going to get an A version of Lamar Jackson for the next few years. Whether it's A+ or A- is, I think, what the coach can impact. The defense, on the other hand, there's a little bit more variance.
See, I'm not as sure. I'll be honest with you. Like, this is a buy-in thing for me. Like, I think if you're DaCosta and you're Bisciotti and you're saying, Lamar's got to buy in. Like, right. The article that was written a month or so ago that and John Harbaugh defended him about, maybe not practicing all the time and all these different things. And you better have that guy buy in. I'm going to tell you right now, I played 14 years in the league. That guy got to be bought in. If you want the other 52 to buy in, that dude's got to be bought in. And so that means practicing. That means all of the above. So whatever guy floats his boat, and because he is the two, and you've made the decision. You parted from John Harbaugh. You decided, hey, we're going to go with Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson about to be 30 years old. All right. So and we've seen the injuries, we've seen the body of work. Right. He's fantastic. When he's good, he's great. But when he's unavailable, your team struggles. We got to figure this thing out because you got to have buy-in from Lamar Jackson, 100%.
Let me take you within the castle, which is what they call it there in Owings Mills, and Domonique knows it well. They've already interviewed a few candidates, and they're doing a couple rounds of interviews. So what it is they're taking a wide net now, and then they're going to narrow it down, and that's when Bisciotti and Lamar will actually meet the candidates themselves.
There
so
you go.
I've spoken to a few of the candidates who've already interviewed, and the focus is how do we maximize the next 3 to 4 years with Lamar Jackson? And what is your plan of getting the most out of Lamar Jackson? What's interesting, though, is I've spoken to a couple offensive coaches. They interviewed for the head coaching job, they think, but it also might have been for the offensive coordinator job. And that's what DaCosta and Sashi Brown, the president, have told them candidly. We're meeting with all these names. You might be our head coach. You might be our offensive coordinator. We just want to meet all of you and get that plan for Lamar in place. And what Bisciotti said yesterday was so fascinating and so candid. He said, I spoke with Lamar. If I'm going to fly up from Florida and meet with these guys and you want to have a say, I will get you a private plane. I want you in Owings Mills. I want you in Baltimore, and I want you to personally have something to weigh in on here. That is on you, franchise player. Do you want to be a part of it? Because the invite is out there.
Before Week 18, we'd had a conversation on this desk, and I said, if you're the only reason I see John Harbaugh not being their head coach is if you say, if Lamar is like, it's me or him, or like you make that delineating line. What Bisciotti talked about also was, hey, Lamar, we got to get you to a long-term extension so that we can lower your cap number and so we can build this roster.
Yeah.
And it's not just the defense, that offensive line. Part of the reason he had the knee and he had this and he had that, he was under so much pressure this year. So I just think all of it together, it's great that the focus is on Lamar, but they got to hit on this roster.
19 years in Pittsburgh for Mike Tomlin, 18 years in Baltimore for John Harbaugh. It really is the turning of a page.
It has been a surreal day in Pittsburgh.
The biggest news in the sports world today, Mike Tomlin stepping down as Pittsburgh Steelers head coach.
And I think deep down inside, Mike Tomlin knew all along exactly what he was going to do, and this was his plan to step away after this season.
I'm not surprised. It's hard, but in the end, you saw it coming.
Pittsburgh wouldn't be known for keeping coaches a long time if them coaches sucked and didn't win a lot. And that's what Mike Tomlin did.
The wisdom, the way with words, the way he can communicate with people, the leadership that he has, it's rare.
This is a facility that is shocked that Mike Tomlin decided to step away, but also grateful for the wins and the experience and the leadership that he has shown here.
He will take the year off, he will decompress, but the Pittsburgh Steelers now embark upon their first head coaching search in 19 years and only their fourth since 1969.
Really is remarkable. The last time the Steelers were interested in talking to candidates, they couldn't text them because there was no texting. There has not been a vacancy in Pittsburgh.
That's crazy.
A few months before remember the BlackBerry? Like you had, I was on the BlackBerry.
You gotta page people.
Had to figure that thing out there. So one way or another, Mike Tomlin steps down as Steelers head coach. If you're just joining us, we had a lengthy conversation about exactly what happened yesterday and some of the reaction that we are getting. And now we turn our attention to what happens next. And I guess the question is, I posted this on social yesterday. We'll pick it up where we were. That job, to me, is attractive for one reason and one reason only, and that is that the franchise has a history of being patient with coaches. Now, I think I heard Swagoo say in a soundbite in there, part of the reason for that is because they hired excellent coaches. So you weren't going to fire Bill Cowher because he was doing great, and you weren't going to fire Mike Tomlin because he was doing great. So those things aren't guaranteed either. If you sit back and look at almost every other vacancy that exists in the NFL right now, I can point to at least one thing about the team that seems appealing. Tennessee, maybe you really like Cam Ward.
Yeah.
The Giants, maybe you really like Jackson Dart. In Pittsburgh, if you're just a neutral observer, you know, the Raiders kind of in a different category.
But even so, blank slate, right?
Yeah, they've got $1 trillion in cap space and whatever the case may be, and they have the #1 pick in the draft. So yeah, they have some appealing things too. I think the Steelers, if indeed they're going in for a rebuild here, I think that sometimes you think the other side of that, you think a rebuild is fun until your team is playing meaningless games in October, and then all of a sudden it isn't as much fun as you thought.
You've lived that.
Oh my God, it's bleeding into all of your questions, Grady. We can all feel it. I'm sorry.
I mean, when he hits
I'm sorry,
October,
man.
We're 4 games in the season and already done. That's where he is.
But that is true.
No, I agree. I understand it's true. What you guys have with the Jets is something
But it's
different.
not just the Jets. It's all of these teams that do this. Like, we have this idea era, there was this idea. This is why tanking is a scourge.
Agreed.
We have this idea. All you have to do is suck for a little while, and then the next thing you know, you're going to be Brady and Belichick.
I think
Brady was a 6th-round pick. Belichick was on his 2nd job.
No, I mean, no one really tanks in football because it doesn't work. Like, we've seen, to your point, that it doesn't really work. Also, it's really hard when you're in the middle, which is where they've been.
Yeah.
When you're just good enough to not be able to get those top draft picks. Of course, you can find great quarterbacks at the back end of the draft, and you can maximize your talent. There are other ways to build your team in the NFL. It's not like the NBA where you kind of have to have a top-of-the-draft superstar to be competitive. So, like, I understand that point. But for the Steelers, if you are doing something, how long do you have to do something and not get the results before you think, like, we got to try something different? I said multiple times I wouldn't have had the courage to move on from Mike Tomlin, but he made it easy for you. He moved on his own. So I think that the brighter days could be out there if you look at what you have and you say, and you have to appreciate, or you have to anticipate that it might be rough for a little bit at first.